Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 825 of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Thank you all for checking out today's video. If this is your first time watching, thanks for tuning in. My name is Aaron Rift. I run NoDQ.com. I've been doing Q&A videos now for 4 years, actually make that 5 years, since 2011. And it has been a wild ride, and let's just keep things going with it. Got your questions from twitter.com. You can use the hashtag PAIV, please answer in video. First one today comes from Dillon James. How do you feel about WWE announcing Lesnar's Summerslam opponent on Smackdown and before his UFC 200 fight? I found that to be very interesting. I was not expecting that. I figured WWE would wait until after the fight to see how it goes, first off, and second, if Brock Lesnar gets hurt or not, before going with an announced SummerSlam match for Brock Lesnar. It is WWE taking a risk by doing this. Maybe they want to get the match out there before the event so they can get more publicity. I'm not really sure. But either way, it is a little bit surprising that they announced this before the UFC 200 fight. Because you never know what's going to happen at that fight. You never know. And I got this one here from Darren Holding. If Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton happens at SummerSlam, will they both be faces, and who do you think will win? I think it'll be like Lesnar versus Undertaker. Same kind of situation where it's two guys that are just having a fight. And there's no real bad guy, no real good guy. And as far as who wins, I think Brock Lesnar will win, regardless of the UFC outcome. If Lesnar loses the UFC fight, then this would be a nice rebound for him to beat Randy Orton. And if Lesnar wins his fight, I still think it would be best for someone else to beat Lesnar rather than Randy Orton. Somebody could be elevated from defeating Brock Lesnar and can be taken to the next level. Orton doesn't need the win. So one way or another, I'm going with Brock Lesnar to win. Again, anything can happen though between now and SummerSlam. Who knows what plans might change. But if Brock Lesnar is sticking around in WWE for the long haul, I think that him losing to Orton would be a mistake. I think someone else, someone who's on the rise, should beat Brock Lesnar, especially if he's coming off a huge UFC win. Somebody could really gain from defeating Brock Lesnar and beating the guy that beat the streak as well. This one comes from Sasha Banks Guy. Who do you think / hope Orton feuds with upon return? I was hoping either Bray Wyatt, Baron Corbin, Kevin Owens, or Dean Ambrose. After the whole Brock Lesnar thing, I could see Randy Orton definitely feuding with Kevin Owens. I mean, that should be an awesome feud. I think those two will work really well together. And I expect that to be one of the major feuds in this second half of 2016. Those two guys will tear the house down. Orton versus Owens would be great. We already saw Orton versus Ambrose with the Shield versus Evolution. I suppose we could see that again if Dean Ambrose stays WWE Champion. It also depends on what brand Randy Orton is going on. But I think as far as Orton goes, I think he's better off at this stage of the game being a babyface. And because of that, I think his strongest potential opponent right now would be Kevin Owens. This one comes from Mikey Gormley. With SmackDown Live, WWE had to change the day again. Couldn't they have just put it on a Thursday or Friday to spread content? The problem with doing Thursday or Friday is WWE would have to have the production trucks and crew travel a second time. By doing back-to-back nights, it's more economically feasible because from Monday to Tuesday, there's usually a very short distance in travel. You just have the crew go from one city to the next, and then you wrap up the taping and send everybody home, and then the next week you do it again. It would just cost a lot more money to tape another television show on a Thursday or Friday. Got this one here from Ryan Kurtz. Hey Aaron, what stipulation matches would you like to see return in WWE? Elimination Chamber, for instance, since we haven't seen it in over a year, I assume we will see it sooner than later. If you're talking about stipulation matches that have been gone for a long period of time, I'd love to see War Games return. I'd love to see the double ring with the giant steel cage and have the two teams go at it. That is a concept I would love to see. And another concept from WCW, the triple tier cage, I think would be interesting in WWE. Even though the booking was absolutely ridiculous for it, I found that DDP versus Jeff Jarrett versus David Arquette match to be entertaining. And I think with the right booking, that could be a really interesting match to do that triple tier cage. And it would be something different. I would like to see those matches return. Got this one here from Aaron Rift Guy. Please give your thoughts on some storylines you want to see WWE do in this brand split. Well, I think that I would like to see WWE do something with Roman Reigns, changing his character, turning him heel, or doing something. Just him coming back and doing this redemption storyline. To me, it's not going to work. I feel the fans see right through it. And if anything, people are just going to boo Reigns more than ever. That would be the number one storyline I would like to see post-draft. And I would like to see perhaps WWE do something with John Cena. If they're not going to do something with Roman Reigns, do something with John Cena. Change up his character and give him something different. So whether it's Cena or Reigns, I'm hoping post-draft one of those guys will get a change in direction with their character and we could see something different. I mean, just overall, I'd like to see WWE take a little more chances and try some different things and change the characters around. This one comes from Dave Lesnar. With Batista shooting on the fans and the Triple H Stephanie, is it safe to assume we won't see him in the ring ever again? No, not necessarily. Batista and Triple H, I'm sure, are still tight, and Batista can get away with saying those things because he's Batista. He has gotten to the point where he doesn't need WWE, and if anything, that pisses off Vince. Vince does not like it when people can go off on their own and be successful, and if anything, that'll motivate Vince more to want to bring back Batista so he can have control of Batista again. He doesn't like the fact that he does not have control over someone, and a person like Batista can say whatever he wants without the risk of being fired and without the risk of consequences. That's the spot Batista's in right now, and good for him. I mean, he's doing his own thing, and his stock is very high. So if he wanted to get back into WWE, he can get back into WWE. Got this one here from Lewis Bell. How would you book the women's division from now until SummerSlam? Well, the plan is apparently for Sasha Banks to get the title match against Charlotte at SummerSlam and win the title. That is what I would do at this point. I've said it before. I think Sasha should have won the title at WrestleMania, but they held off on it. Right now, you just have to get from now to SummerSlam. So you want to continue building both of them up. You want Charlotte to continue to look strong as a champion, and you want Sasha to be booked strongly as a challenger. So have Charlotte win a bunch of matches, have Sasha win a bunch of matches, and then you build up to SummerSlam that way. It's very simple, yet it's effective. This one comes from Sean. The Cruiserweight event WWE is having leads to a Cruiserweight division. Will WWE push really over guys unlike WCW? I think what you're saying, if WWE will bring back a Cruiserweight division and if they'll push the guys stronger than WCW. I'm not expecting a return of the Cruiserweight division. I think WWE's doing this Cruiserweight tournament as a drawing tool for the network, something to get more subscribers, more older fans that gave up on the current WWE product. WWE is trying to get those people to become subscribers, and they're doing this to please them and give them a reason to subscribe. I would be surprised if WWE brings back the Cruiserweight division, and unfortunately when you do a Cruiserweight division, it labels those guys as small cruiserweights that aren't really at the same level as the heavyweights, and just that right there holds them back, in my opinion. I think it's better when you don't have weight divisions and stuff like that. I never really was a fan of the Cruiserweight division. I think that just that whole concept alone kept people down by nature. So it's not a matter of WWE pushing them any better than WCW. I mean, I understand guys like Kevin Nash's viewpoint. You know, it doesn't really make sense for a guy like Rey. Did I just say a gay guy? What am I, Hulk Hogan now? A guy like Rey Mysterio to beat Kevin Nash. I mean, it's just not very believable. So I understand his point of view. Some say that Rey Mysterio was being buried because of that. I think some of those guys like Jericho, they could have been pushed stronger. But again, the Cruiserweight division, I think, held them back. And Jericho really reached his peak when he got out of the Cruiserweight division and was fighting for the U.S. title. And he wasn't being portrayed as a Cruiserweight. And I think that helped his stock in WCW, even though he did eventually hit a glass ceiling because of the other guys like Hogan and Nash and Piper and Savage that all had the guaranteed contracts. And because of that, they were getting the top spots. Got this one here from Grant Peoples. Is it just me, or has all the NXT call-ups from after Mania been less than great? I would say Enzo and Cass are doing great. I think their call-up has worked out really well. I think that Apollo Crews hasn't worked out that well because it's clear they really have nothing for him. Same thing with Baron Corbin. I think that of the NXT call-ups, definitely Enzo and Cass have been successful, and usually it's a mixed bag. I mean, Baron Corbin was in NXT for a while, so, you know, they really needed to give him the chance. The only problem is that they gave up on him right away. And same thing with Apollo Crews, but Apollo Crews had a gimmick that really was not going to win him over with a lot of people. At least Baron Corbin, the company really screwed that up. They had something. The guy should have come in and been a monster and just dominated people. And it would have been easy to get him over that way. With Apollo Crews, you know, they're doing the whole thing with him being the smiley baby face. And, you know, it's not catching on. So really they need to just try something different with him at this point. Corbin, I'm not sure what they can do with him at this point. Got this one here from Gingy. With WWE possibly rating NXT for the draft, do you see a lot more indie talent going to NXT, and who would you sign? I definitely see more indie talent being signed in the near future. WWE is aggressively seeking indie talent, and I think 2017 will be an interesting year. I think we're going to see a lot of new faces come into WWE, a lot of guys that are red hot on the indie scene right now. You know, I would be shocked if we do not see the Young Bucks in WWE once they are able to come to the company legally. Same thing with Kenny Omega. I think those three guys are going to be major stars in WWE one day. And another guy is Prince Puma, aka Ricochet. He is going to, I think, almost certainly end up in WWE by next year. And once he's in WWE, he'll do really well. So those four guys I would definitely sign as soon as you can get them under contract. This one comes from Marcus S. Your thoughts on the Bobby Heenan Twitter account being revealed to be fake? That was really disappointing. When I saw that Bobby Heenan was on Twitter, I was really happy. I was thrilled that he was on there, and it seemed like everyone was really excited about that idea. And then I saw the tweets, and I actually started to think something was going on because he seemed like he was pandering too much to the internet fans, saying that Kevin Owens is his favorite wrestler and Sasha Banks needs to be pushed more, all this stuff that the internet fans would say. And it started to seem fake, even though it was verified. It had the blue check mark that it was verified. And apparently this was all a huge ruse. Somebody really got one over on the internet completely. Not only was the Bobby Heenan account fake, but also his wife, the Cynthia Heenan account, was also fake. And that took a lot of work to be able to fake that account for several months and then fake a Bobby Heenan account, get it verified, and getting people in the business, top names like Mick Foley, to believe it was legit. That takes a lot of work. So maybe somebody out there has way too much time on their hands, but you know, they pulled one over on the internet, that's for sure. And yeah, it was disappointing. Got this one here from Jishnu. Hey Aaron, which WWE underutilized superstar / jobber do you think will be able to break out during this brand split? That's an interesting question. I would have said Damian Sandow if he was still around, and who knows, maybe eventually WWE will bring him back. Maybe they'll bring back Cody Rhodes. Looking at the roster right now, I mean, maybe Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin. I mentioned those guys earlier. Maybe they'll have a new chance to succeed once this brand split gets going. Maybe we'll finally see Darren Young do something and he'll become great again, you know, because he was so great earlier on in his career. And maybe Titus O'Neil. You know, I'm thinking of the guys that haven't really gotten much television time. You know, maybe Golden Truth, although I'm not really sure the point in that. You know, if anything, I'd rather see more NXT guys get their call up and get their chance on either Raw or SmackDown. You know, the guys like Samoa Joe and Nakamura and Finn Balor. I'd like to see those guys on the main roster and get their chance. You know, you got to keep looking towards the future and keep pushing the new talent. This one comes from Deadpool James. Hey, how's Oregon? Whatever happened to the elimination cage matches like DX versus Spirit Squad at Saturday night's main event? Oregon is great. I love it up here. So much better than Southern California. Regarding your question, I actually had to look up the match because I totally forgot what you were talking about. And that match, the concept only worked because it was 2-on-5. So they had that gimmick where the Spirit Squad members were locked in a cage to prevent them from interfering. Unless we have like a 5-person faction in WWE or something like that, there's really no point in doing an elimination cage match like that. And really, we do not see more than 3-person factions in WWE. I guess the Wyatt family's technically 4 with despite Harper being out. But yeah, there's really no point in doing that type of match unless you have like a 5 or 6-person faction, or you have faction versus faction or something like that. Got this one here from Alex Suggs. If the rumors are true about Ricochet being done with Lucha Underground, would you like to see him in WWE and would he thrive? You know, this actually goes back to the earlier question. Definitely, I would like to see him in WWE, and I feel that there's a very good chance he will end up in WWE next year, and I absolutely see him thriving in this era, you know, where being a great in-ring performer can really get you over in WWE more than ever. I mean, before it used to be more about the look and the promos, and now things are kind of changing. Now, you know, the in-ring abilities is really being more heavily emphasized. And because of that, I think there's a very good chance for him to succeed in WWE once he's able to sign with the company. This one comes from Joe. How would you book Bayley on the main roster? Please give details. That's a tough question to answer because I'm not sure how the casual fans will react to her. Now, I was wrong about Enzo and Cass. The casual fans really took a liking into Enzo and Cass very much, more than I was expecting. And, you know, even if Bayley comes out and does her shtick, I mean, it's working so well in NXT. And I think it should work on the main roster because, you know, she is more of a PG act, but she's getting over with the NXT audience and the hardcore fans. So I think she should have no trouble getting over with your women and your kids, more of your casual fans, on the main roster. So just don't change something unless you need to. Have her come in, let her do what she's been doing, and see how it works. And hopefully she'll catch on the main roster like Enzo and Cass did, and she'll be a huge success in WWE. Got this one here from Timmy. How do you feel about the whole Brother Nero storyline with the Hardys? Great stuff, huh? Not sure if that was supposed to be sarcastic or not. I will say it's been entertaining. I mean, is it going to turn TNA's business around? Probably not, but they felt that they had nothing to lose. TNA is in a position where they're not really gaining any momentum. They're not going anywhere. They're just barely hanging on. They're barely managing to survive on Pop TV. So Hardy Boys decided, why not just do something outside the box and take a chance? And it was entertaining. I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. It's not something that I feel is going to catch on. I don't think we're going to be seeing a ton of different movies. I mean, we might in the short term, but long term, this is something I really don't see working out in the long run. But for this one occasion, I felt it was fine. I mean, I got over the whole ridiculousness of it and just accepted it for what it was. And if you do that, it wasn't so bad. This one comes from Joshua. What did you think about Eric Bischoff on the commentary team on WCW? Definitely don't think he was as bad as Joey Styles said he was. I thought Bischoff was fine. I thought Bischoff did a good job, and yeah, he did bash WWE a lot of times, but I felt that during the early period with the NWO, I thought Bischoff did a really good job selling the NWO, and the stuff where all the NWO guys came up on the stage and the set or whatever and got in Bischoff's face. That one episode where they took over the commentary team and they put Randy Savage's hat on Bischoff. I mean, Bischoff did a great job reacting to all that and selling the NWO. So because of that, I think he did a very solid job. I remember in '99 he started doing commentary again, and that wasn't so good. But the stuff he was doing in '95 and '96 when he had the energy behind him and he was really enthusiastic about what he was doing, I thought he did well. This one comes from Dillon. With TNA going down the drain, what do you say were the 3 best matches? This one's easy for me. I will say the Turning Point tag team match, America's Most Wanted versus Elix Skipper and Christopher Daniels, the 6 Sides of Steel. I was there in Orlando for that. That's the only live TNA pay-per-view I attended, and that was one of the craziest matches I've ever seen in person, with Elix Skipper walking on the top of that cage. That was just absolutely insane. We all thought he was going to die. But fortunately, he was able to pull off that move, and it was crazy. It's even more crazy how TNA never did anything with him after that. Just a huge shame. The triple threat match, Samoa Joe versus Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles from Unbreakable, I believe, 2005. That was considered to be one of the all-time greatest triple threat matches from any wrestling promotion. And then I would say Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. I believe it was Lockdown 2008. It was the steel cage match, and they made it like an MMA fight, and it was a totally different vibe. So I liked it because it was different from what TNA had been doing, and I feel they should have kept going in that direction, presenting TNA more like an MMA promotion. That seemed to give them a lot of momentum at the time, and I remember that was one of their, I think it was their highest pay-per-view buy rate they ever did, and the ratings were towards the highest point that they had ever been as well, and I think their attendance was also at the highest it had ever been. So they had some momentum at that point, and it's a shame that they weren't able to keep it. This one comes from Beast Slayer. Approximately how much did you spend going to WrestleMania? How much do you spend going to WrestleMania? I'm not sure if you're asking me or just in general. I did not spend much for WrestleMania 31 because I just drove and got a cheap hotel, and tickets were not that much. Some people spend a lot. I mean, I've had people tell me they've spent as much as $2,000 to $3,000, and sometimes even more than that on WrestleMania. I mean, it depends on how far you're traveling, if you're driving or if you're flying, and then the hotels, if you're getting a cheap hotel or if you're going all out and getting a luxury hotel. And then, of course, the tickets, how much you're spending on the tickets. Are you getting ringside? Or are you getting cheap seats? And how many events you're going to. Are you going to just WrestleMania and the Raw? Are you going to all the events? Are you going to all the Access events? Are you getting all the autographs and the photo sessions? Are you buying all the merchandise? So it can add up very quickly. You could end up spending $3,000, if you're doing everything and you're going all out with your airfare and your hotel. Alright, that'll wrap it up for episode number 825 of NoDQ&A video. If you enjoyed today's video, please do me a favor, open up Facebook or Twitter and copy the link to this video and share it with your friends and family. Anybody you know who watches wrestling, have them check out NoDQ&A video, and I will see you guys next time for episode number 826.